Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's Sebring week in the GT3 cars here in iRacing, and I really tried hard to give you guys a good video to watch that was entertaining and competitive in the GT3s. So while we wait for this race to start, I'd like to take an opportunity to show you some of the starts that I had in the previous night, where I was really hoping to get some great content. The first race I tried was a 20-minute fixed in the rain, which I knew was going to be a little sketchy to begin with, but figured I'd give it a shot. I do enjoy racing in the rain, it just doesn't always seem to work out when you're trying to just get through a race. So as you can see, 4 wide, beating and banging right out of the gate. Don't really know why everybody has to go so crazy in turn 1, but I saw that happening and thought to myself, these guys are going to go off to the right and I'll be safe. But unfortunately that Ferrari decided to come back and just absolutely drilled me in the right front. So steering wheel was basically sideways, and that was the end of that race. Later on that night, I came out, tried to do the 40-minute sprint race, which I knew would be dry, and I thought, okay, this would be a little bit better. Everybody's going to be a little bit more cautious, and right out of the gate, I see cars coming from the left, and I just absolutely almost got hammered. I truly can't believe that I missed that. Looking at the replay, I mean, it was maybe a foot away from just destroying me. I made the mistake of mentioning karma for the previous race, and then of course that's what I get for doing as much, and clearly wasn't too happy about that.
Yeah,
I don't know how, but the wheel was even more turned to the side from this one. It just wasn't my night. So tonight I thought I would do something a little bit different, and I'm gonna run the 40-minute sprint race again, but this time I'm really gonna basically turn everything off and just try to focus. And I thought it would be fun to come back, watch the race with you, commentate, cut out the boring stuff, and just show you a clean race where I was 100% focused and walk you through some of the things that I was thinking about during the race. To start, had a pretty good qualifying effort. Don't remember the time exactly, but I was in the 2-minute flat world, probably something like a, let's say, maybe like a 2-minute 0.8, maybe something in that space is kind of where I was expecting. So starting P7, 2400 split. After last night, I was just absolutely terrified something was going to happen here on the start, so I'm kind of doing everything I can to just be cautious. Got a little bit pinched here, a little bit of contact made with me and the Ferrari on the outside. Thankfully everything was okay. First thing I did was, try to get down on the inside of him. But saw that the Lambo behind me was thinking the same thing on me, so just try to play defense. Saw the spin there. Really just, at this point in the start of the race, I mean, you're high alert. Everything is just amplified for sure. So coming down into the hairpin, definitely not trying to make a move on this dude. I really just wanted him to be thinking about me, especially after how aggressive he was at the start of the race by pinching me down. So I really just want him thinking about me a little bit, and it'd be nice to put him in a position where he makes a move or goes into a corner with a line that he doesn't like. So trying to remember that, right out of the gate, we've got pretty cold tires. We can see that they're up to about 60 in the front, mid-high 50s in the back, so definitely not the operating temperature we're looking for. So just being smart, try not to take any of the braking zones deeper than I have to, just to get through, to make sure that 1, I stay with Patrick, and 2, Michael stays behind me. This is probably the section of the track that I struggle with the most, so just trying to be smooth and not really do anything to put myself in a position where I'm going to get just trained. What I noticed immediately in this lap was that Michael gets into that corner before the straight here very aggressively. I didn't know exactly. I don't feel like I've seen many people do it that way, so I took note of that immediately and just kind of thought, okay, I can see how he might take that opportunity in the future. So instantly saw that, thought about it, and just wanted to make sure I was in a place where I could defend it in the future if necessary. So clean first lap. I mean, after the night I had before, it's really all you can ask for. Sitting P5 after some incidents, and really just trying to settle in. I need some clean races here, some clean finishes. I've had a lot of races recently where I either wreck myself out, get caught up in some other people's stuff, just can't seem to have the luck to get a clean race and, you know, just finish a race. Forgetting the numbers and the ratings and everything around it, just trying to finish a race and have fun on the surface for more than 8 minutes at a time. Now that we're in the second lap, temps are coming up, low 70s, basically 70s all around. Not quite where we want to be in temps yet, but you know, feeling much better about it. As we go into this corner here, I definitely pushed it a little bit more than I did on the previous lap, which would be the normal line, the normal braking marker, but previous lap again with the cold tires, just trying to not overheat anything and just get everything up to speed and up to temp. Again, here I'm looking to see what Michael's going to do, and he really got close to me there on the entry to that corner before the straight here. So now that we've seen it 2 times in a row, I'm definitely realizing that that's just the way that he takes that corner. It's different than the way I do it, and that I need to be on high alert in the future, because if he gets a run in the Le Mans area, he's definitely going to go for it right there. Definitely don't know how I did not hit that wall in the moment. It was definitely a clinched situation, and I was quite surprised I didn't run into that wall. I don't think I would have done any more than a 0x, but not something I'm looking for. I do feel like with this section, I guess it's turns 2 through 5 or 3 through 5, something like that. I was really focused in this race on trying to straight line that as much as possible, as opposed to taking, you know, wide sweeping actions, and I feel like that actually worked out for me. I don't know if that's the proper way to do it necessarily, but I do feel like I wasn't losing as much time there as I have in the past, so something I want to look into a little bit more and evaluate. But I definitely noticed an improvement there for me in my lap times by trying to straighten that thing out a little bit. So here we definitely are deeper than that first cone, about halfway to the next cone, and that is, you know, the braking zone, and feeling much more confident now. The front tires are up to the 80s, and the backs are practically there as well. So feeling like the 2 first laps were really good for me to just settle in, find my spot, get the tires up to temp, not destroy the rubber immediately, and now we can just settle in and click off some laps. So kind of realizing where I'm at. I'm sitting P5. I'm looking at the gap behind me, almost more than the one that I'm looking at in front of me. Again, with Michael with the lunge there. Not lunge in terms of trying to make a pass, but he's got an interesting line there. So yeah, I'm looking at the gaps, definitely paying attention to the gaps behind me, just to get a sense of like, what does my race look like. I see him looking on the inside there, try to cover it off a touch. I'm really glad that I did, because the spin could have been disaster for me if we were side by side. So I got a little lucky. The car happened to be stuck in the middle. Michael went to the outside, I took the inside, and that gave me a nice gap. So instead of being attacked and really having to pay attention to the guy behind me and defend, I instantly just got a second gap to the dude behind. So that really changes the outlook. Now I can focus forward just a little bit more. Seeing that the gap to Anton and Kevin is about 3 seconds, this is where I'm feeling like, okay, look, my race is probably for P4 to P5. It's, you know, Michael definitely looks like he has some pace. Patrick and Mario ahead of me are definitely having some pace as well. I'm not really able to keep up. I'm barely holding on to this draft. So I don't think I'm really fighting Mario by any stretch. Patrick, probably not as well, unless these 2 guys collect each other and get into some accidents here. But it looks like my race is probably where I'm sitting, or maybe if Michael catches me up and gets that draft again, he looked pretty racy. So really just trying to settle in, understand where my race is, who I'm really racing, and just maintain the gaps as best I can. So, not thinking about pit stops or anything else like that at this point, but as you can tell there, if you look at my brake trace, for some random reason I thought to myself, hey, let's maybe think about saving fuel, and then when we do our pit stop, I won't have to, get as much fuel. So I don't know why I did that. Maybe I got bored in the first 3 laps, but I quickly realized, hey dummy, you've not practiced that. That would be an insanely stupid thing to do. So just do your race, and don't worry about trying to save fuel. So I don't do that again, but I did think that was kind of funny as I started to watch this race back, that I was like, oh yeah, I don't really know why I did that at all. Moving forward a little further into the race, picking it up here on lap 6 as we go into the hairpin. I'm still maintaining that gap. I can't really make any progress on Patrick and Mario. I think the fact that they have draft and really are so close in pace that one's not able to overtake the other, it's a challenge for me to make up any room there. Michael's done a good job. I mean, he's basically been hanging right at about the 8 tenths to a second back behind me, and we've started to pull a nice little gap to Anton and crew behind at 3.5 to 4 seconds. So again, really understanding what the race is right now. It's mostly P4 to P5, and so my mind goes from racing to hot lapping and really paying attention to that time diff right in the middle there of my dash beside the gear. And so I'm just trying to keep that sucker green. If I could keep that green or keep it within a tenth or two, something in that space, I'm feeling really good about that. So I start to play a game with myself and say, okay, let's just try to make every lap something in the 2:01 range. If I could do that, then Michael's not going to catch me. I'll have something that occupies my mind, because normally I'm streaming or recording and having a cam and doing a lot of talking mid-race, and so my mind has something to occupy itself with. But in this case, I'm solo, I'm 100% focused on the race, and my mind can wander a little bit. So I've given myself something to aim for and to do in the middle of the race. For me, really settles me down a little bit and gives me something to think on. So it's nice there. I clock in with my fastest lap of the race thus far at 2:01.29, and really loving that. I'm thinking to myself, man, it'd be really cool to get something in the 2-minute flat range in a race situation. So again, just trying to settle in, treat this almost like a hot lapping situation, just doing the best that I can to keep it consistent, keep it clean, don't run off the track, don't make any mistakes. You see there, I start playing with my brake bias a little bit because I feel some of the braking performance breaking down a little bit. So some of those changes will start to happen as we get deeper into the race, and I'll click it around a little bit to get a feel for what I need to keep that time diff within something that I feel is pretty respectable. Picking it back up here on lap 8, I've noticed now that Michael has started to fall off his pace just a touch. I think in a lot of respects I've done a good job of maintaining my pace, with respect to the fact that maybe I'm a little off on the previous lap, but with this one I'm definitely holding tight. I've made some brake bias adjustments. I feel like I've got it in a good place where my braking performance is optimal given where we are in the race, tire temperatures being in the low 90s, and the wear and so forth that I've been putting on the tires. So he's fallen off a touch. He's about 1.5 seconds behind. I've got 1.5 seconds ahead, as you can see. And now again, still looking at 6 and 7, and where those guys sitting 4.5 to 5 seconds back. That's a beautiful thing for me. So really again focused on that time diff, really trying to get that thing as close to 0 as possible. If we throw in some green laps, that's great. But if I see that number as a 1, the first number is a 1, I'm a very happy individual. Even 2 or 3 is not terrible. Once we start hitting 1/2 second off, 7 tenths off, that's where I feel like I need to start making some changes. And unfortunately, as I go through sunset, lost about 1.5 tenths right there, but still coming through. Getting a 2:01.61 is not so bad when you're on lap 8 of the race. So my mind starts now thinking about the pit situation. I'm basically right on the edge of the pit window being open to me. I'm starting to look at this point at my track map. I have a fourth monitor so I can see things like track temp, and I can look at the track map and see where everybody is. I can also get a feel for how many laps are remaining in the race given the pace that the leader is doing. So in our case, in this race, the counter was really close to giving us an extra lap. And given that, I felt like it would be smart to, one, it's kind of always smart to wait as long as possible. If you're sitting in free air and nobody's holding you up, and just wait as long as possible to make that pit stop. There's really nothing, that you need to make that pit stop earlier for. It's almost always best to just wait and take it at the end, from my experience at least. But especially in the case where it looks like there might be an extra lap, give yourself as much time as possible to figure out whether that's going to be the case or not, because it gives you an opportunity to figure out how much fuel you need to get through the end of the race. So one, I was going to wait as long as possible for that. At least that's where I was at in the moment. The second was looking at the track map. I realized that if I did a pit stop right now, I'd be in a gaggle of cars somewhere between like P12 to P16. So I didn't really want to put myself back there, whether it's risking traffic, risking getting in an incident, or getting caught up in something there. The last thing I wanted to do is put myself in a situation where I was basically around a bunch of cars where right now I'm in totally free air. So I'm starting to think about it. We've got about 4.5 laps of fuel, or really 4 laps here at the line. But that, at this point, my mind is shifting to that pit stop. So as we finish lap 10, I'm still thinking really hard about this pit stop. I'm quite happy with where I am on pace. My mind tends to wander in a lot of these races. It's especially difficult for me to be consistent when I'm streaming the recording, because my mind is looking at chat and trying to just process things and also focus on the race, and it's difficult to do. Honestly, the guys that do it exceptionally well, that is extremely impressive to me, because I've tried it, I've done it, it's extremely difficult, and it's just one of those skills I think you pick up over time, and I think I've gotten better at it. But at the end of the day, to do it at a high level and also engage with your chat is extremely challenging. So I really try to take this race as an opportunity to say, let's focus 100%, let's really focus on the consistency, let's keep these laps as good as possible and as close together as possible. So to this point, you're still sitting in the 2 minute and 1 second range for all of our laps, which I'm super thrilled about in the moment during this race. Still thinking about that pit stop. We're really close at this point. We've only got 3 laps, fuel really 2 laps since we come to the line. And I'm looking again at the track map. It started to thin out a little bit. You kind of look there between P13 and 14, there's a nice gap, and then 14 to 15 is a huge gap. So I kind of know that if I do pit right now, I do have a nice little window of space where I'm not going to come out and be immediately held up. And then of course, everybody's in the same position for the most part, so everybody's got to come in within the next 2 laps anyway. So I'm thinking about coming in this lap. Another consideration, and this is something that, frankly, I don't know if other people do this or not, but at a place like this, let's say I have a really bad sunset. I go through sunset and I lose 2 or 3 tenths. Instead of losing that all the way down the front stretch, I'll just box. I kind of like use it as an opportunity to say, I made that mistake, that was really unfortunate. My diff right now is a little over 4 tenths. Oh man, look, it's over 6 tenths. I looked at it and I thought, maybe I should have boxed right there, because I didn't have the greatest sunset. I lost an extra 2.5 tenths. I could have just eaten that and taken that right to the pits, as opposed to having to take that all the way down the front stretch. So another piece of consideration that I try to take is on a track like this, or tracks like this where you can kind of get that little tiny advantage. It's also another consideration I take. Picking it back up here towards the end of lap 12, another thing that I love to have, and I think we all love to have, is a great out lap, and a great in lap, and then a great out lap during your pit. And unfortunately for me, I made a mistake there at Le Mans, and I'm looking at the time diff and seeing that I'm half a second down. I could get another lap out of it, but I'm saying to myself, I probably should have taken it last lap. Let's go ahead and take it for real this lap. So try to not lose as much time as possible here and get in. Could have pushed this a little harder for sure. We're in the box. making sure I'm on the other monitor at this point, making sure that all my stuff is set and ready to go, no tires, all the fuel we need, which looks like it's going to add 24 liters for us, and the all-important do not blow the box. I think I stopped a little short, but not terrible. On the 4th monitor right now, I'm looking up and I can see how much fuel I need. You guys get a nice little visual from Race Labs here on the left, and off we go. So now the mindset is looking at the relative. I'm just like thrilled right now. I know I've got a 10-second gap to the guy behind me. I just want to get out of the pits. I've dropped my temps a few degrees, which is always welcome to have in a race like this. And now I just want to have the best outlap I can possibly have. Don't slide through anything. Keep it smooth. Keep it clean. And just have a great outlap. See where we finish, or see where we come out once everybody cycles through. Heading down into the air hairpin. The fact that that first number in the time diff is a 1, I'm a happy dude. I've got 8 seconds, almost 9 seconds ahead, 8 seconds behind. Again, this is like perfect scenario. I didn't have to compete with anybody going into turn 1 as I came out of the pits. And I've got no one to hold me up and no one pressuring me right now. So I'm loving life, trying to do my best to respect that time diff and just have a phenomenal outlap. So a little deep there, but nothing too bad. Maybe lost a half a tenth or so. Really want to get a good run out of here. That's always a great way to get some time back. Unfortunately, not quite what I was looking for, but can't all be perfect, can they?
The lead is spinning now.
Smooth around the back half here. Loving the way this looks here in the replay. Let's get a great exit out of Le Mans. Get down this straight, carry some speed. Going in the right direction, the diff, just maybe not as fast as I'd like it to be going. Let's get a great sunset. In my mind, I'm thinking that other guys that were in front of me have already pit as well, but not necessarily the case. They had one more lap they could do. Loving that sunset. Probably could have carried a little bit more speed out of it, but I'll take it. So I'd say that's a pretty good outlap. I mean, to only be, you know, a couple tenths off, not so bad. Not so bad at all. So as I come through turn 1, also again very happy I didn't have to compete with anybody coming out of the pits. I do notice that Michael, he's now on his outlap. He's 2 seconds behind. So I'm feeling pretty good. I gained a little bit on him. Mario's about 3 seconds up, so I think he had a pretty good one. And our leader here is just absolutely cruising. He's out 7 seconds ahead of me, so he's having a great day, of course. So still kind of confused in the moment about what's happening. Not everybody has, you know, gone through the process and boxed. Currently sitting P5, but I'd like to see that say P4 here in a few minutes. So again, settling back into a routine, right? We're looking at that time diff, trying to keep it smooth, trying not to scrub, trying not to take a 1x. You know, anything here, it's so easy to run by on this exit. Something like that, where I go out into the dirt, I've got a 1.8 second gap. That's nothing. 1.8 seconds after, you know, 14 laps, 13 and a half laps. I get out into that exit, that runoff area, catch the dirt, TC kicks in, that one at 1.8 is down to a half a second instantly. And now all of a sudden I've got Michael, who's super quick, on my butt and just causing chaos for me. So keeping it smooth, just trying to put in some great laps. I do notice that my time diffs are going up a little bit. If you pay close attention, you'll see some brake bias adjustments as we continue through this race. But a lot of it is more just mental. You know, back them up a little bit, the braking markers, and just try to be a little bit more smooth and put in good laps. Still happy that we finished with the 2:01.9 there. I know we're going to start dipping into 2:02s as this race continues, but you know, we've got tire wear going on. I have been pushing quite hard throughout this race. Michael is going to suffer some of the same, spoiler alert. So My gap of 2 seconds is in a good spot. Looks like Mario and Patrick have come back together. Those two guys are now about 3 seconds up, so they've had some pretty good outlaps, in and out laps themselves, plus pit stops. So again, shaping up. We've gone through the pit cycle, sitting P4, 7 seconds off the leader, 3 seconds off, third place, and I've got a nice little gap of 2 seconds to P5, and much nicer gap there with P6 and P7. So again, we're fighting for fourth. It's basically the race at this point. Want to stay within distance of 2 and 3 in case something happens. These guys have been close to one another the entire race. They seem like they've been racing really clean. I haven't seen anything that's too aggressive out of my windshield, but never know. So be close enough to take advantage and just keep it smooth and keep getting these 201s locked in. That's the goal at this point of the race. So picking it up here as we start lap 18. Looks like we've only got 2 laps to go here. This is the first time that I had a lap in the 202s, and as unfortunate as it was to do that, where I was really hoping to stay in the 201s the entire time and focus and practice on my consistency, easy for me to say. Quite proud. I mean, to do the first 16 laps of the race, save for the first lap and of course the end lap, to stay in those 201s, which 2 days ago I couldn't even touch. Quite proud of that. So even though that I landed a 202 there, I'm still really mentally focused on trying to get back to those 201s. It's going to be difficult, and yes, we're burning the fuel off, but the tires, they've been getting used. They're sitting in the low 90s, which is not bad, but definitely showing some wear. And as I look at the gaps, seeing that 4.5 ahead and 2 behind, feeling pretty good about where I'm at. You can tell that Michael definitely is pushing here, and he closes his gap up a little bit as we get to the end of the race. But yeah, again, just trying to focus. It's you're 36 minutes into a race. It's been pretty much me on an island for the most part, and so it's really easy for your mind to just kind of wander, and 2 seconds turns into a half a second in no time. So heads down, trying to finish this race and just bring this bad boy home with a P4. So as we pick up the white flag here, this is where we start to get into a mode that I wonder if other people experience this, but there's a couple corners here, turn 1 being one of them, the hairpin being another, and of course sunset, the final corner being another, where one small mistake can lead to a race-ending incident. You're flying off the track, nail the wall so easily at, especially 1 in the final corner, and of course here at hairpin you can just go flying off the track. So I get into this weird mode with like 1 or 2 to go, where mentally I'm like, okay, I just need to get past turn 1. Okay, cool, got past turn 1. All right, now I just need to get past hairpin. Great, got past hairpin. And I start to do that, and it's like, okay, what's left? What's left in front of you that can screw me up in my race? And all the while, my mental state is there. I'm looking at Michael at 1.5 seconds behind, and I'm like, come on, man, like, keep it together. My diff is looking great. He's just having a great lap or 2 here to push towards the end. And if I can just get through at this point, sunset, I've got it, right? So that's kind of where my head goes in the last lap or 2 of these races. It's just don't do anything incredibly stupid to ruin the thing you've just earned over the last 40 minutes. So this has been a great race. I was really proud, even after I got over the 202 mark, to come right back and just, get a lap sitting at 202 flat, 202.1, 202 flat, like keeping those numbers low. It'd been really easy to say, oh man, I got a 202, and all of a sudden it's a 202.5, 202.8, and then Michael's breathing down my neck, and now we've got a battle for P4 going into the final corners of the final lap. So glad to say that didn't happen. Happy to say as well, sunset goes great. It's a beautiful corner here. I realize I have tons of time. I'm going to take it easy. No chances, no risks. And we'll cross the line and finish 4th and get a phenomenal points haul in IR. We've only got 1x, so that was a phenomenal race for me, no question about it. Taking a look at the results, it's always a great day when you're the 16 car and you come home 4th. Picked up 76 iRating and 0.14 in the safety rating category. Only 1x, which I'm quite proud of. That's unlike me. If you've watched much of my content, a 1x in a 40-minute race is not really my jam. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this race. If you like what I just provided there, subscribe for more sim content. Like this video. Tell me what you thought about this format in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next.